Let's get the latest update from Beirut on the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine. SABC News correspondent Mia Alberti joins us live. Mia, good afternoon. We understand that there were some reports of gunfires near the Lebanese border last night. What is the situation like at this moment?
Well, we are seeing a significant escalation of violence at the border, very different from what we have seen in the past 13 years since the last confrontation between Hezbollah and Israel. Things were calm overnight, but now we just know in the last hour, the Israeli Defense Forces have said that they have engaged in combat in this border region. They have killed 2 armed suspects. Now Hezbollah and Hamas have said that they are not, do not have an ongoing operation there at the moment, but it could be from other Palestinian groups, for example, or it could be even from civilians, from people attacking the Israeli forces. Before that, we also saw shelling, an exchange of shelling, and now we just heard, this is the latest, that Israeli is carrying out an air raid in the southern region next to the border towns. Again, this is disputed area between these 2 countries. We do not know about the details about this air raid. From the videos, it looks like it has hit very near or even on top of infrastructures, some buildings. There are multiple reports that Hezbollah's infrastructures could have been targeted, but we cannot confirm that at this moment. But nevertheless, these 2 deaths and this air raid are quite different from what we have seen during these years, where we always saw every here and then some exchange of fire between Hezbollah or Hamas and Israel. But this is quite significant because we're not talking about, we're talking about very strong weaponry being used. We're talking about deaths, something that has not happened in years. So it really has, ever since this operation in Gaza has started, we have been talking about Hezbollah, and if Hezbollah could get involved, and if Lebanon could be dragged into this war. And this is exactly the type of situation that could just lead to that.
No, absolutely. That was actually going to be my follow-up question. But on the back of that, let's look at the implications that this conflict is going to have, the regional implications in terms of other Islamic countries also joining. What are you observing on that front?
Absolutely, and if Lebanon gets involved as a state, because we have to separate Hezbollah and the Lebanese state, if Lebanon does get involved, then the end is even more about the involvement of other regional actors. We are already seeing Iran being very involved, with reports from the Wall Street Journal saying that Iran helped plan this attack with Hamas through meetings that happened right here in Beirut in the last few weeks and months. We have Qatar, that has had a great presence of Hamas in its country for a long time, also supporting Hamas and supporting Palestine. And we are also seeing Israel more and more threatened by this. So if an attack does come from Hezbollah and this escalation here in the southern border does escalate even more, this for Israel is basically the creation of another war front in the north, besides what it already has to deal with in the south. We know that the United States have said that they are supporting Israel. They are sending aircraft carriers and fighter jets to support Israel in this war. And so if a war does spill out into Lebanon, those efforts might be also diverted here to Lebanon and could really escalate into something much larger. But again, like everything here regarding Hezbollah, particularly here in Lebanon, it is a very fragile situation, and one that could not develop further. That is a possibility, but could also build up into something more serious. It really depends on what happens in the next few hours and how Hezbollah or Hamas here in Lebanon decide to respond to these clashes and to these deaths that happened by the Israeli Defense Forces.
Well, given the fragility of the situation, you've mentioned that 2 deaths have been recorded since the air raid. And I just wonder, if there are any talks of aid and assistance for victims in Gaza, perhaps also, who have succumbed to that airstrike. Walk us through what intel you're getting at this point.
Yes, just to clarify, the two people that were killed, they were killed in a gunfight, not by the raids. We still don't know the raids here in Lebanon if they have caused any casualties. These people were killed by soldiers. It was a body-to-body combat. Now, in terms of aid, one thing that we know about the situation in Gaza is that a lot of countries, such as Germany and Austria, have said that they are either completely suspending aid to the Gaza populations, or that they are rethinking the aid that they have been providing for the Gaza population, because they say that, for example, Germany said that they have been giving this aid to help population with human basic necessities and not to finance terrorism. So they want to make sure that these European aids are not actually financing Hamas, for example. But of course, for the civilians in Gaza, this is very worrying, because a lot of them depend on aid from not only the UN, but from individual countries and from the EU as a whole, to get medicine, to get even food. Around 500,000 people are depending, for example, on the United Nations for food. So for the civilians, this could have really dramatic consequences.